everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today we're going to create 2 cards. We're using some items from the Simon Says Stamp October 2024 card kit. It's called 2-Step Simple Leaves. Although we're not using much of the stamp set, we'll use some greetings that are in here. I thought we would use the rice paper. Rice paper is a very thin paper that, look how beautiful these are. They're very thin paper, and I would say that it's a cross between tissue paper and a paper napkin. And the front side's really smooth. Back side has these paper fibers, maybe rice paper fibers. And so I thought we'd create with the rice paper today. For the most part, we're using everything that's in the kit, with the exception of some texture paste. We're going to add a little texture, so I have some Ranger texture paste that's opaque matte. We're also going to use a craft glue stick. This works perfect with the rice papers. And then I also have a water brush. If you're unfamiliar, using a water brush to tear the paper makes it really easy. Just adding a little water to the fibers helps break it up. So we're going to be using this, and maybe some twine too for our card today, but the rest is the kit contents. So we're going to start by adding some rice paper to 2 A2 panels of the dark chocolate cardstock that's in our kit. Okay, let's put everything to the side. To start off, we're going to trim down some of our rice paper. Rice paper cuts beautifully with a paper trimmer. And you would think it's very delicate, but it actually has some durability to it, and that's what I like about this. Okay, I'm putting this in my paper trimmer, and we're going to trim this down to 5 inches. Give that a trim. And I'm going to be using this flour too, so I'm going to make sure that I clear this flour. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it, and then we're going to trim this down to 3 3/4. For my next background, we're going to be using this paper here. We're actually going to be using this moon, so I'm going to work on this section, and I'm going to trim down the same size. If you do use a paper trimmer, when you trim, you want to make sure that you press down on the paper using your guard. Hold down that paper straight, because the paper does like to lift a little bit, I would say, and sometimes your cut lines can be off. Like here, my cut line was off a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, this one's going to go directly on this panel. This one's going to go on this panel. Now to adhere them, what I'm going to do is use my Simon Says Stamp glue stick. These come in really handy, and all I'm going to do is go over the entire background of my rice paper. If you have a Distress Collage medium, this would work too, just using a paintbrush, but I think the glue sticks works perfect, and I think it's less messy too. If your paper crinkles, no worries. You can always take out the crinkles. Now that we have glue behind here, we're just going to tack this down on the center of our card. Give it a good press. Wonderful. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this panel. It is smooth, and if you have a wrinkle in there, no worries. The wrinkles are easy to push out. But there's our panels. I think that looks really pretty. Now we're going to bring in our distress ink. We have Scorched Timber in our kit this month, and then we also have our mini blending tools that came in the kit this month. We're going to go ahead and pick up some ink. And now we're going to go over the edges of our timber, going up to that rice paper and adding a little bit of dark distressing over the edges. Just kind of taking away those harsh edges. Wonderful. Now, this paper lifted up a little bit, and if your paper does that, no worries. Just bring back your glue stick, add a little bit of glue, and you are back in business. Pretty easy to seal it with the glue stick. So that's one panel. I'm going to continue with this one, just adding some ink to those edges. So our background panels are done. Now what I'm going to do next is take my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim off some of the edges here to make it a thin dark chocolate border. This is an A2 panel right now. If you like the way this looks, you could leave it as it is, but I'm going to place this on a card base that's A2. And I want a little bit of a framing, like so. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer and trim these away. I turned my ivory cardstock that came in the kit into 2 A2 panels. And then I also had some ivory cardstock for my stash that we're going to be using. But if you have white cardstock, you could use that as well. Okay, we're going to take our panels now and attach them both to the front of our card bases. I'm just going to use my glue for this. And we'll just center it here. Okay, so our backgrounds are done. Now we're going to put these to the side. Now we're going to work on tearing our rice paper. When you tear it, it leaves like a feathery edge to anything that you tear, and I just love that. That's where our water brush will come in. If you don't have a water brush, you could use a paintbrush. Just dip it in water. Okay, I'm going to squeeze a little water out here. Now all you do is follow along your image where you want it to be torn with water. It doesn't take much. You can see here. We're going to do some sections at a time here. Okay, so this tear is really easy. What you want to do is hold the section that you don't want torn, put your finger over it, and just lightly pull away the fibers. Look at it. You can lightly pull away the fibers from your image. And you can see if you have a little extra fiber, that's okay. You could always just take little bits and pieces away at a time. But isn't that so feathery and flowing? I just love this. Okay, I'm going to go around the moon, and I'm also going to go around my simplicity greeting. The sections that have water tear really easy. Okay, before I go any further, I'm just going to use my scissors. And to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to just go around my image here. Okay. Add some water. And we can go around our moon. You can see how easy it tears. Now I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to go around the rest of my moon, and then I'm also going to go around both of these, the grid paper here and also the notebook paper here. Okay, I'll do that and I will be right back. Okay, so our tearing is done, and while I was at it, I tore a flower out of our rice paper too. What we're going to do next is bring in some of our ivory cardstock. And you'll notice that putting your rice paper over different colors, let me show you, you get different results. So if I were to put this over see, it looks really dark and it stands out, but if you put it over the white, it really does brighten it up. Okay, so we're going to use white. Place this on here, and then I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to trace around this up to those frilly edges. Okay, and then I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm going to trim inside of those pencil marks. And you know, this really doesn't have to be perfect. like so, okay? Now, instead of adding glue behind my rice paper, what we're going to do is add glue directly to our cardstock. And I'm going to cover the entire thing. Since I went inside my pencil marks about 1/8 of an inch, let me show you. You see the pencil marks? Those edges are going to overhang. We're going to just lay this on here. Give it a good press. And I love the way this looks. Okay, I'm going to put this to the side, and now we're going to do the same thing with our moon. Take another piece of ivory cardstock. I'm going to place it on here. Maybe I can place it so I could put my flower on here too. There's our moon, and we'll do the same thing to our flower here. Takes no time at all. Okay. We'll go ahead and add this. Now I am going to ink the edges of these, but with our distress ink. But before we do that, I want to add a little bit of texture paste to our background. In our kit this month, we have the stencil, the 2-step simple leaves. Okay, and this is great for inking up your stamp set, but I think it's going to be fabulous for adding detail to our background. And I'm looking at this one right here. I'm going to add, I want to offset it just a little bit, and I'm also going to do a little bit of masking. I'm using a roll of 3M Post-it note tape. Simon has this in their shop. And we're going to mask off one edge. And I'm also going to mask off this side. Using my spatula, we're going to go ahead and take we're going to use our Opaque matte texture paste. Now I'm using texture paste because I like dimension, and if you don't have texture paste on hand, another option would be to use Simon Says Stamp's white pigment ink. Let me show you. As a substitute, I think it would look just as nice. But since we're doing a little bit of mixed media, we might as well do it all. So I'm going to lift this up, and we're going to shift over the stencil, tack it down here. I'm going to mask off the edge here and the bottom, and we'll add some texture paste here. Okay, I think that's just the right amount. And now we're going to put this to the side. Texture paste dries really fast, but we have a little bit of texture on there. Okay, for this card base, I thought we would add a little texture with this flourish. So let's go ahead and add some here. Sometimes it just makes it pop. We'll tack this down just so we don't get it over here. We'll tack this down, and we'll add some texture paste over here. Okay, and that's all there is to that. I'm going to put this aside to dry, and I'll wash my stencil, and I will be right back. While that's drying, we're going to ink the edges of all of our torn paper here using our scorched timber. And you know, basically anywhere where I can see white, I'm going to go around the edges. And if I go over some of the fibers, that's okay. Okay, what I'm going to do next is bring in some twine. I'm using some twine from Spellbinders. This is their white twine. And I'm going to wrap it around my notebook here. I'm going to do it around 3 times. And then I'm going to tie a bow off to the left here. I will trim the tails. And then with this panel, I'm going to take my flower. I'm going to put a foam square behind here for a little dimension. I'm going to remove the release paper, and then I'm going to add my flower underneath my twine so that the bow ends up in the middle of my flower here. And I think that's a good spot. You just kind of twist it and turn it until that bow is in the center of the flower. Now I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put some foam tape behind here. And I'm going to set this aside. And then for this one, we're going to bring in some more of that white twine. And I'm going to wrap it around my moon. I'm going to use a foam square. I'm going to add the end of my twine behind my moon. And then I'm going to do a little wrapping with my twine. Loose wrapping, I would say. Like so. And then I will end it underneath that same foam tape, kind of securing it. And then I will trim that off. And then I'm going to take this and I'll tie a bow with this. And then we'll add some foam tape behind here. And the foam tape that you add, you could put it over that twine to help secure it. So I put a glue dot behind my bow, and I'm going to add this right at the bottom here at the corner of the Simplicity. So it's kind of hanging over a little bit. Okay, we'll flip this over. I'm going to remove the release paper so this is ready to go. But before we adhere it, I'm also going to stamp a couple sentiments. I'm going to take the greeting that says thankful for you, and just using an acrylic block, I'm going to use my distress ink and stamp thankful for you. Okay, and then I'm also going to stamp this longer greeting that says you're in my thoughts. We'll stamp this. Wonderful. And then Simon Says Stamp does have a coordinating die set for our stamp set. This is not part of the kit. Simon has this separately in their shop, but I'm going to take the greetings and I'll die cut those out using the coordinating dies. Okay, our greetings are all done, and now we're going to go ahead and add our florals. And we'll tack this down, and then we'll take our moon. I'm going to take, I did put foam tape behind our greeting, and I'm going to put you're in my thoughts right above Simplicity. And then I'll put thankful for you, and I'm going to add it just over the Liberty here. And I don't think I'm going to add any ink to the edges. I think I like my greeting to just kind of pop. Okay, and for finishing touches, I'm bringing in our Positively Dazzling Gems. I love the pastel tones of these, and we're going to add a little sparkle to both of our cards. And that finishes off my card projects for today. Today we used a few items from the Simon Says Stamp October 2024 card kit. The card kit is called 2-Step Simple Leaves. And we used the rice paper today, along with the gems and the stencil, and created some mixed media cards. I hope you enjoyed my projects. Thanks for visiting. Have a fabulous day. Links are down below in the description area if you're interested. Have a great day. Bye-bye.